I can assure you guys that the only reason I don't have a giant bottle of wine opened next to me is because I don't want the police at my door for underage drinking. So that doesn't set the tone for this video. I don't know what will. It's time to rant. Let me just say, I really have never really been that nervous to film a video up until now. You guys know, I don't have any qualms with speaking my mind, even when I really shouldn't. I don't care, you know? But I have to admit, I am quite nervous to film this video because I don't want people attacking me. And you know what? Who the worst people to attack you are? People who think they're smarter than you. And definitely feel like I may attract that crowd. Let me just tell you right off the bat. One, I am not stupid. I can make something out of anything. And I feel like that you need to say that because this is, you know, literary fiction, because hi, hello, we are ranting about the secret history, if you guys didn't get that from the title, which is literary fiction. And I will also say that I am not a fan of literary fiction because I like when messages are said in a clear way, because I feel like that's even more powerful of a message is when it's just shoved in your face. But I will say that a lot of people do like literary fiction. So if that is your cup of tea, that's great. It's not mine. So we're gonna take this review with a grain of salt, and piggybacking off of that, I am in the minority here. I am 100% in the small minority of people who despise this book. And this is part of the reason why I am so baffled by this book. And by the way, this is gonna be all over the place because I haven't prepared for this, as I never do for any of my videos, but this is definitely going to be structured by my Goodreads review, so if you guys would rather just go and read that, I will have that linked in the description bar, because I will kind of just be reiterating what I say in my Goodreads review. Any book I have ever read, past, present, future, anytime, I can always find an aspect of it that I see why people like it. Even, like, no matter how much I hate the book. For instance, previously my least favorite book of the year was Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I can totally see why people would like it. I have a rant review of that one, so if you guys want to go watch that one, there you go. I can see the positive aspects of every book I have read and every book I will read. This has been the only book that I have ever read that I legitimately and truly, and I'm not saying this to be controversial or problematic or anything like that, I really truly do not understand the love for this book. Everybody loves this book, like 5 stars right off the bat, loves it. And I don't understand. That's just gonna be the theme of this whole video. I don't understand, because when I say I can't find a single positive thing to love about this book, I mean it. This book is it's almost 600 pages long. So obviously, and I read the whole thing, obviously I was gripping at straws to try to find a way to enjoy this, because obviously I don't want to just torture myself through the whole thing. So I was trying throughout the whole thing. Throughout this entire reading journey, I pretty much read every single Goodreads review of this book, because I wanted to know. I wanted to try to find something where I could be like, oh, okay, I see that. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And so I could at least attempt to enjoy this reading experience. I could not find a single thing. So that is where this rant begins. Firstly, let me just give a quick synopsis of this book. So we follow our main character, Richard, and he is this poor kid from California, but he has always felt that his potential has been lost on his environment. And he gets the opportunity to go to a pretty prestigious college in Vermont. And at this college, there are these group of kids who take Greek and study Greek. And this is a very elite group of kids. The professor is a very selective guy. Basically, nobody can take Greek. But somehow Richard manages to get in with the group, and they're just a bunch of rich, pretentious assholes. And then we find out from the very start of the book that they have murdered somebody in their group. And so the book, the first half is kind of broken up as like they build up to the murder. Then the murder happens, which was truly the most anticlimactic thing I've ever read in my life. And then from the murder onwards is just like the aftermath of how all of the group kind of copes with the murder that they committed. So that sounds kind of interesting, right? I mean, I think it sounds kind of interesting, especially because I do love Greek stuff. So, and I mean, a mystery, that sounds interesting. I would want to know how the murder happens. Let me just tell you that it is absolutely not interesting in the slightest. It is the absolute most bland, boring, and uninspiring piece of literature I have ever read in my life. So I'm gonna use my Goodreads review as a reference because, quite frankly, I want to forget about ever reading about this book, so I want to try to not think about it as much as I can. So I kind of broke up my review in light of all of the kind of highlights of everybody's 5-star reviews because, you know, as I said, I want to try to appeal to the people who really love this book. So the first bullet point is that a lot of people really love the writing style of Donna Tartt. They say it's extremely atmospheric, they say it's engaging, they say it's just grips you in. No, I don't agree with a single thing about that. As I said, the plot is absolutely boring. All of the interesting things that happen in this book are done away in a paragraph max. But we get pages upon pages of them drinking, smoking, drinking again, doing drugs, snorting some cocaine, drinking some more, drinking, getting high. But like they don't even do anything when they're drunk or high. Like they literally just sit there in their like houses and their cabins and they don't even do anything. Like we don't even get anything. They're just fucked up. And that's it. So it's just those constant descriptions of absolutely nothing. Like, and I just read this book. By now it's been a few days, maybe even a week. I can't even tell you what this book is made up of. It's absolutely nothing. And the writing isn't anything special. Like, I really was expecting to at least have like some metaphorical writing, some like pretty flowery. It's not even really flowery. It's just it's nothing. It's nothing. It just baffles me, the lack of content in this book, and yet it's almost 600 pages. And trust me, if this review makes no sense, I'm right there with you. Because I don't know how this is possible. I am just as flabbergasted as if I never even read this book. Like, I spent more mental stimulation trying to figure out what about this that appealed to people than what Donna Tartt actually presented in this book. And I appealed to this. I'm like, okay, I guess you can say her writing is atmospheric because it's taken place in Vermont during like the winter time. But to me, describing snow doesn't make your writing atmospheric. That's bare minimum. So no, that didn't, like there was really nothing. There's nothing. I'm just gonna say that so many times because I don't understand. Like I said, the only plot is just like drinking and drugs and alcoholism and all that stuff, and that doesn't bother me. It was just boring because there was no commentary on it. It was just, okay, they're drinking again. They're drunk. It's like,
Okay, and, like, give me more. And you would think that she would be able to give you something, and it's nothing. And like I said, all of the exciting aspects of this book, the murder, there is a Dionysic sex ritual. We don't even get to see it. We don't even get to see the sex ritual happen. We're just told it happens. Oh my god! How frustrating is that? Like, how frustrating is it to read a book with literally all of these things that are supposed to be exciting, and you only get the boring parts? Oh my god, it's so frustrating. Like, I didn't even need Donna Tartt to, you know, full on do a Lesson in Thorns action, but at least give me the atmospheric descriptions of the woods and like get to be able to see the descent of madness, because we're told that they go through this descent of madness, but they were so high that they couldn't even describe it, which I mean makes sense, but at least make it so the main character Richard, who is the one narrating the story, goes through it, so then we get to experience that. And then the murder happens and they just push him off a cliff and then it's done. And they leave. And it's like, I can't, I'm sad. I'm descending into madness while filming this review. I just can't wait for it to be over so I can just forget this book even exists. Okay. So the next bullet point is that people think or see these characters as super complex. They hook you in and they're so bad, but you're so interested in them and you root for them in a way. No. All of these characters have no personality. None of them have any personality whatsoever. You don't get to learn anything about them to make you're not invested in the slightest in any of their lives. And they are homophobic, racist, rich, pretentious assholes that think they're better than everyone just because they study Greek. And let me just tell you, it does not make you cool that you study Greek. And that's coming from someone who loves Greek culture. It makes you a nerd. It makes you intelligent, but definitely does not make you better than anybody. You can now say a misogynistic language that doesn't even acknowledge the female species. Good for you. Which also brings to point, there is barely any Greek references in this book. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some, obviously. They do study Greek, but when I went into this book, that was the only thing that I knew I would be able to latch on to, and the only thing I knew I was going to be able to enjoy myself with was the Greek aspect of this book. I was really excited about that because I already knew the characters were going to be pretentious. I already knew I was going to hate them. I already knew the book was going to be long and dense, so I knew all that going in. But the one thing that I was like, yes, I'm so excited that I'm going to be able to get these Greek references. And Donna Tartt completely disappointed me in every semblance of the word. I thought I was going to get such allegories and metaphors and take-backs from Greek plays and poetry and Greek culture and all this stuff, and I just was severely disappointed. There was barely any of it. I'm sad about it. Oh god, this is just pulling me into a depressive state. Okay, sidetrack, back to the characters. So yeah, they are just homophobic, racist, pretentious assholes. They're not even interesting enough for me to hate them. Like, as much as I despise this book, I despise it because of the lack of emotion that I had reading this. I couldn't even hate these characters because they were so bland and boring and you knew nothing about them. The only character that you kind of, I would say, has a personality is Bunny. And he is the one who gets killed. And like, sure, I guess that's an aspect where you kind of root for the characters because you want him to die, because, I mean, I certainly wanted him to die. He was trash. So, I guess that he's really the only one who gets personality, and he's the one who gets killed. I don't... Oh my god.
The irony of that. The only one with a semblance of a personality, and he's the one who they kill. Oh my god. I really want to drive home the fact of the homophobia and the racism, because the key points of that is that it's unchecked. It's unchecked, it's uncommented on, and that to me is absolutely trash. I don't care if your book has homophobia and racism in it. Obviously that's an aspect of life. But the fact that Donna Tartt doesn't even make a semblance to comment on it, and I don't want her to be like, this is bad. Like, yes, we know it's bad, but the characters just go unchecked. They don't get punished for their actions. I know this was written, I believe, in like the late 90s, and I know people always say it was of the time. It was fine to say those things. I don't think it's fine to say those things. When is the point where we draw the line? Because people say that with classics. People say that with Stephen King. People say that with this book. Or if they say anything at all. Because in all of those reviews, I'm pretty sure only a couple times somebody mentions the homophobia and the racism. I don't want to read a book that says those slurs and those words and those tones and messages, but doesn't comment on them and doesn't make a statement on them, even if it's a metaphorical, frilly-nilly way of saying it. I think that is disgusting. And the whole theme of this book also just drives home the fact of white privilege. And I'm going to also link down Monty's wrap up where he talks a little bit about this, and he says the exact same things. And it's just, I don't need to read a book about white privilege without you making a comment on it. And that also goes into my next point of a lot of time, these characters are the most dumbass characters I've ever read in my life. They didn't even know that we went to the moon. And it's at that point where I thought for a second that this was satire. And I know some people were saying that it is. To my understanding of what satire is, and the satire I've read, this is not satire. Not in the slightest. Donna Tartt is just as pretentious as these characters. And if it was satire, I would have loved the shit out of this book. I probably would have given it 5 out of 5 stars. And I think that is maybe a common misconception of people who rate this 5 stars. They think it's satire, but it's not satire. It lacks the elements, the commentary, and the depth of satire. If your satire promotes or gives validation and power to the people that you're satirizing, is that the proper word? It's failed to be satire. I don't understand what Donna Tartt was trying to do, because her message is not there. She doesn't have any messages. She doesn't have any commentary on it. She doesn't do any metaphors. She doesn't do anything. The only message that I got through this entire reading experience is holding aesthetics over reality. Making aesthetics a more important priority in your life rather than reality and how life really is. And that is definitely in the book. For sure, that is definitely comes across, especially if that comes across in like the first 50 pages. But you don't need a 600-page book just saying that. Like, I need more if you're going to do that. And she doesn't give me anything but that. And I would say the last thing that people keep saying is that this is a modern Greek tragedy. Euripides is rolling in his grave right now every single time somebody writes that down in a review. I don't know what Greek tragedies y'all people are reading, but let me know so I can recommend you some better ones, because clearly you're not reading the best ones. Because this is not a Greek tragedy in the slightest, because you know what? It doesn't have plot, it doesn't have characterization, it doesn't have a message, it doesn't have anything but meaningless, useless, uninspiring words blurted on a page. Tragedies will invoke a message. They will invoke emotions. They will make you feel something. They This made me feel nothing. And that is why I'm so mad. Not even that I didn't like this book. Not even that I didn't like these characters or what they said, what they did, what happened. It was because of the lack of emotions that I feel reading this book. And I, for one, want to take something out of every book I read, regardless if I hate it or love it. And I have nothing to give you. As I hope is sent home through this review, I am just frustrated that I don't understand why people love it so much. I don't get it, and I wish I did, because at least I would be able to make commentary and talk to you about this in a more productive manner. But because I have nothing, and this gave me nothing, and I don't understand, and I have no concept of why this was such a masterpiece to people, this is the best I can do. I do encourage everybody to go on Goodreads, read all of the star reviews. Maybe you can resonate with something, but I will also like to mention that all of the 5-star reviews I've read have been incredibly vague. And that is also a very frustrating thing to this, is that nobody seems to be able to present why they love this book in a meaningful, logical, unpretentious way. A lot of the reviews about this book cannot say why they loved this book, which, and I understand some books you just can't express into words why you love it, but as a reviewer trying to figure out why somebody loves something and having so many people be so vague about it and not be able to say why they love it is extremely frustrating, because at that point I'm just like, if you can't describe why you loved it, then is it really a 5-star read? Like, is that unfair of me to say? Maybe, but I can tell you that every single 5-star book I've ever read in my entire life, I can give you paragraph upon paragraph upon paragraph, strictly telling you word for word in a logical, detailed way exactly why I loved it, the exact emotions it brought upon me, and the exact reason why it is an all-time favorite of mine. Maybe I don't know. Okay, this was just an extremely frustrating video to film, an extremely frustrating book to read. I don't even know how helpful this rant review is going to be. I definitely want, if you did read this book, please comment down below or give me something, because at this point I'm just really just hoping somebody can give me a grounded explanation for why this book deserves 5 stars, because to me it barely deserves a 1. This is going to be gone from my shelves. I want to throw it in the trash, quite frankly. I don't even want to donate it to Goodwill, because I don't even want anybody to ever read this book in their life. I'm done talking about this book. I'm done looking at it. I'm done thinking about it. So if you are willing to try to say why you loved this book, go ahead, or don't, because I don't think there's anything that's going to be able to convince me that this was a good book. So if you loved this book, I'm so happy that you did, and I'm so happy you didn't waste your time, unlike me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I didn't. I'm not going to be happy about editing this, because I just want to forget this ever happened, and this point of my life is over. So that's it. I'm going to go now. Bye!